Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Phobies draft mode. It is not a thing, but it's a thing that I want. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, I know that a lot of people have had this idea, but I think it's important to to discuss a few things, specifically the boundaries of how the draft mode would work. But if you don't know what a draft mode is, it's essentially where each player will pick the cap amount of phobies to bring into the fight instead of all of your phobies in your collection. This basically allows for like more customization and strategy. However, there are a few questions like how many phobies should be allowed? Should you have bans? And will you decide your team beforehand, or do you pick like a few at a time? Personally, I think there should be about 15 phobies. There's like a sweet spot kind of there where you have a strategy, but then also you get some diversity with some electrical damage phobies and some poison damage phobies. Just kind of get some just to be a bit more flexible. I think having bans in the game makes it more balanced, but also less interesting because we don't really have a phobia that's like king of all, except for like maybe Jar Cannon. But I feel like Jar Cannon gets pretty easily beaten out by like Murderwing and Cassowary right now. So I feel like he's in a spot where he at least has some counters to him. Um, also, um, I think forcing players to choose beforehand makes them have to think about it more. So I personally, that's what I would want. So it's more so to just like you're kind of thinking about it before you start. You're not just picking random shit to counter your opponent's random shit. I feel like that's kind of boring. So I'm gonna bring up two team examples. I really like this idea, so I made these pretty fast. I may have done something wrong. I think there's a certain level of foundation, so I think I may have gone a bit too gimmicky with it. But the first one I like to call one movement stall. Essentially, what you're doing is that you're stalling with poison, and you're also using these hard hitting and slow phobies. The reason they're slow is because they're usually cheaper, so you get a lot of these out at the same time. You can basically have this huge blob of one movement destruction. So a composition that I would use here is AWOL, Sucky, Unicorn, Kerbloom, Bowmangles, Jar Cannon, Clinico, Bad Sushi, Stabby, Gonzo Bonzo, Unbearable, Blondie, Erratic, Alligator, and Boss. That didn't make any sense. If you don't know what those phobies are, you can go ahead and search those up on the database. But phobies like Kerbloom, Jar Cannon, Alligator, and Boss, they may not be as slow as the cast. They have two movement, but they do provide a lot of pressure or they tank for the team. Boss is kind of a mixture of both. I think I really like his ability to just like spew out like a shit ton of fire tiles on a specific area. But Alligator is a really nice tank. Jarkan and Kerbloom provide a lot of pressure. Kerbloom actually pushes back, which is what I want, because you're kind of forcing them to fall back. Either that or they push back in and they won't have as much firepower. AWOL, Sucky, and Unicorn are really good starts to apply a defensive backline or backbone. You can also add in a Bowmangles, Bad Sushi, or even a Stabby on your second turn. I think Clinical is a really good healer here because there's only 3 undeads in the entire team, and there are also some other phobies that are good at support, like Gonzo Bonzo, which it buffs up your Phobies attack. You have Kerbloom, which, like I said before, it suicides to like explode and like push back all the enemies. There's Erratic, which is a really good electric mechanical counter, which is I mean, it's there for a reason. Obviously, we have poison like Bad Sushi, and I think there's another one, right? No, was that it? That was it. All right. And we also have Blondie. Blondie is really good just because it has an AoE weaken. I think that kind of forces them to fall back, or like I said, it's kind of like her Bloom. Either they fall back or they attack with weakened firepower. The second one is about Jackalopes. I love Jackalopes. I think the thing is really cool. I don't have any though. And also I think it's too gimmicky for like a normal game. But I think if there's a draft mode, it could be really interesting. So basically what you're doing is that you're trying to keep the bond alive through long range support, trying to make sure that they don't die by getting stepped on, things like that. So the composition that I would use would be something like Petula, Sloccason, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, Eternal Knight, Spud, Baby Snakey, Jackalope King, Grimes, Quagmire, Klepto, Alistor, Blondie, and Dozer. Now, dimensional phobies are a great bait in this team, which is why I have Batula and Eternal Knight. They're both really cheap. Their portals do quite a bit of damage, and they also work pretty well by themselves. I don't know about Batula though. It's just yeah, Eternal Knight works really well here. We also have a lot of tanks that have really nice abilities or passives. You can kind of shut down the opponent. Baby Snakey works as a semi tank early on, but Quagmire, Blondie, and Dozer are the main ones. This team also needs a lot of backline support because the four main phobies that we're using are super weak and they die kind of easily. So you're gonna need support to make sure they don't push in and wreck all your shit up. But which is why we have Klepto, Alistor, and Spud. Now Grimes seems like a weird pick here, but it's mainly because of how swarm based our deck can be at the beginning of the game. Because we have what 6 phobies that are 1 to 2 cost. We have the Jackalope clean that we basically need to bring out on the first turn, and it can get super swarmy. And Grimes works as a great way to just kind of shut down these little scuffles that the Jackalopes will have to deal with. It also helps threaten like, oh, if you take down this Jackalope, then I'll kill you with Grimes. So it basically works as an alternative if you're willing to sacrifice one of your Jackalopes. Now, the reason I want draft mode is because it's a really fun concept, and because of how the strategic the game is already. I feel like there's no customization with how it's working right now, and you can't really have your own thing. You can't really be unique. If you do something that's out of the norm, it can usually be countered really easily, like Ted and Jill. Ted and Jill is terrible. Please don't. It's like 2 cost, and they're strong, I guess, but like one movement and one attack is just not it, Chief. They have like no stats. So and it can get countered really easily. However, when both players have limited options, something that's not really accounted for can be punished really hard, which is why I really like this mode. It makes you have to think. You have to choose. You have to pick. You're allowed to pick and choose for your own playstyle, but you also have to think about what your opponent has. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really want draft mode. I think it'll be super fun. It's really easy to add as well. You just have like a little team builder thing, you add it in, maybe allow you to like share teams to other people, and that's really all you need to do, right? I don't know how I feel about live draft, which is like I'll pick one, you pick one, I'll pick one, you pick one, or even I'll pick three and you'll pick three. I feel like that's kind of boring because at the end of the day you're just picking counters and you're not really having that like you're not really having a game plan, you're just kind of doing your own thing. Or like you're not doing your own thing. Actually, the opposite of that. You're just like countering what your opponent has, and your opponent counters what you have. But then if they don't have the right phobies, then they can't do shit. And I feel like that's really dumb and it's really unfair. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about live draft, but like I think like a set teams, they're really nice. So yeah, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. I might actually go play Valorant now. This is like just a common theme, but like I'm gonna go play Valorant now.